Some moments in baseball don't need an announcer. The ball leaving the bat tells the whole story. It tells it in the sound. A sound that is different from every other sound a baseball bat makes. Not a crack. Not a pop. Something deeper. Something that vibrates in the chest before it registers in the ears. Something that makes 56,000 people inhale at exactly the same moment before the exhale comes out as something between a scream and a roar. Shohei Ohtani's 27th home run of the season sounded exactly like that. And when it landed, somewhere beyond the right center field wall in the 8th inning of a game the Dodgers had no business winning, it didn't just win a baseball game. It reopened a conversation that the greatest pitchers in the history of this sport had been quietly having for months. A conversation about something they had never encountered before. A conversation about something they still struggle to explain. The Dodgers were trailing by 1 run entering the 8th inning. It was not a comfortable position. The bullpen on the opposing side had been dominant through 7 innings. The Dodgers lineup, as dangerous as it is on any given night, had been kept quiet in a way that frustrated everyone who had come to Dodger Stadium expecting a different kind of evening. Then Freddie Freeman reached base. 1 out. Runner on first. The stadium stirred but didn't fully wake. Because in baseball, 1 out and a runner on first in the 8th inning of a 1-run game is hope. But it is a cautious kind of hope. The kind that doesn't want to get too loud too soon. And then the lineup turned over. And Shohei Ohtani walked to the plate. And suddenly the cautious hope became something else entirely. The count worked to 2-1. The opposing pitcher had tried everything reasonable. A fastball up in the zone. A breaking ball down and away. A cutter that caught more of the plate than intended. Ohtani had fouled 1 off. Let 1 go. Watched 1 miss. And then the pitcher made a decision. A fastball. 156 kilometers per hour. Middle of the plate. The kind of pitch that pitchers tell themselves is acceptable because of the velocity. Because surely, at that speed, even the best hitters in the world need more time than they have. Ohtani had all the time he needed. His hips began rotating before the ball was halfway to the plate. His hand stayed back with a patience that looked almost lazy until suddenly it didn't. The barrel of the bat arrived at the hitting zone at the precise moment the ball did, and what followed was not a collision between a bat and a baseball. It was a statement. 182 kilometers per hour off the bat. 136 meters of carry. A trajectory so clean and so immediate that the outfielder took exactly 1 step back before stopping. Because there are some balls you don't chase. There are some balls you simply watch. This was one of them. 2 runs. Dodgers lead. Stadium in complete eruption. Home run number 27. But here is what the scoreboard couldn't tell you. Here is what the highlight reel will not show. Here is what 3 of the most decorated pitchers in the history of Major League Baseball revealed in the hours after that ball landed beyond the right center field wall. The truth about facing Shohei Ohtani is not what most people think it is. It is not about velocity. It is not about the spin rate on his sweeper or the launch angle of his home runs or any of the measurable, quantifiable things that fill broadcast graphics and analytics dashboards. Those things are real. Those things matter. But they are not the truth. The truth is something older. Something that lives in the instincts of men who spent decades on a pitcher's mound trying to solve the puzzle of elite hitters. Something that those men recognize immediately when they see it, even if they have spent years looking for the right words to describe it. The truth is this: Shohei Ohtani does not react to pitches the way other hitters do. He anticipates them. Clayton Kershaw said it first. Not in front of cameras. Not in a formal interview setting. In the quiet, unhurried way that Hall of Fame pitchers speak when they are not performing for an audience. When the question is real and the answer is allowed to be complicated. He was asked what it would be like to face Ohtani as a hitter if he were still pitching. Kershaw was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "The problem with Ohtani isn't the swing. The problem is that by the time you've decided what to throw him, he's already decided what he's going to do with it." The room where he said this was small. The audience was limited. But the words traveled, the way words spoken with that kind of certainty always travel. Because Kershaw wasn't speaking hypothetically. He was speaking from the perspective of someone who has spent an entire career inside the mental chess match between pitcher and hitter. Someone who understands, better than almost anyone alive, what it means when a hitter removes your advantage before you've even thrown the ball. Greg Maddux went further. This was more unexpected. Because Maddux does not speak often. And when he does not speak in absolutes. He is a man who spent his entire career operating in nuance. In fractions. In the millimeter difference between a pitch that works and a pitch that doesn't. But when asked about Ohtani, Maddux set the nuance aside. He said, "I have watched thousands of at-bats in my life. Professional hitters. Hall of Fame hitters. I have never seen a hitter who processes information from both sides of the game simultaneously the way he does. When he is in the batter's box, he is not just a hitter. He is reading the pitcher the way a pitcher reads a hitter. He is in both conversations at once." That sentence stopped everyone who heard it. Because what Maddux was describing was not a mechanical advantage. It was a cognitive one. Ohtani's years on the mound, his intimate understanding of how pitchers think and plan and set up hitters over the course of an at-bat, had given him something that no amount of batting practice could replicate. He doesn't just see the pitch. He sees the intention behind the pitch. He sees the setup. He sees what the pitcher wanted him to think 3 pitches ago. And then he punishes the conclusion of that plan with a swing that makes 156 km per hour look slow. Pedro Martinez was the third voice. And Pedro Martinez, perhaps more than any other pitcher of his generation, understood what it meant to be unhittable. To stand on a mound and feel genuinely untouchable. To look in at a hitter and feel the certainty that the next pitch, thrown correctly, would end the at-bat before it truly began. Pedro Martinez has not felt that certainty when watching Ohtani bat. He said so directly. He said, "There are pitchers in this generation who throw 160 km per hour. There are pitchers with sweepers that break 50 centimeters. There are pitchers with arsenals that would have been science fiction when I was pitching. And I still watch Ohtani in the batter's box and I cannot find the pitch. I cannot find the sequence. And I was very good at finding sequences." He paused after that. Then he added something quieter. "The thing that makes him different is not physical. Every generation produces physical freaks. The thing that makes him different is that he is solving a problem that most hitters don't even know exists. He is not trying to hit a baseball. He is trying to understand the pitcher well enough that the baseball becomes inevitable." Inevitable. That word stayed in the air long after Pedro Martinez said it. Because it is exactly the right word for what happened in the 8th inning last night. The pitcher who gave up home run number 27 was not a bad pitcher. He was not having a bad night. He had retired 7 of the previous 9 batters he had faced. He had command of 3 pitches. His fastball was crisp. His mechanics were clean. By every available measure, he was pitching well. And then Shohei Ohtani stepped into the box. And something shifted. Not visibly. Not in any way that would show up on a broadcast. But in the way that pitchers who have faced truly elite hitters describe it afterward. A subtle change in the atmosphere around the at-bat. A feeling, impossible to quantify but impossible to ignore, that the balance of the at-bat had already tilted before the first pitch was thrown. 3 pitches later, the ball was 136 meters away. After the game, Ohtani spoke briefly. He does not often speak at length after individual performances. He is not a player who uses press conferences to build narrative around himself. He answers questions honestly and without embellishment and moves on. A reporter asked him about the eighth inning. About the pitch selection. About what he saw. Ohtani thought for a moment. He said, "I had a feeling about what was coming. Not certainty. A feeling. I tried to stay ready for it. A feeling." Two words that would mean very little coming from most players. Two words that, coming from a man who also stands on the mound and manufactures those exact feelings in opposing hitters, carry a weight that is difficult to fully articulate. Because Ohtani's feeling is not guesswork. His feeling is the accumulated knowledge of thousands of innings pitched. Of countless meetings on the mound. Of every conversation he has ever had with a catcher about how to approach a dangerous hitter. All of that knowledge, compressed into a single moment in the batter's box, told him that a fastball was coming to the middle of the plate. And he was ready. Dave Roberts addressed the home run in his own press conference with the measured pride of a manager who has learned not to be surprised by the unsurprisable. He was asked if there was ever a moment, trailing by 1 run in the 8th inning, where he considered a different option. A pinch hitter. A different lineup construction. Roberts looked at the reporter with an expression that was almost amused. He said, "When Shohei Ohtani is available to hit, there is no different option. There is only hoping he does what he does. Last night, he did what he does. Home run number 27. 2 runs. A Dodgers victory that felt less like a comeback and more like a correction. Like the scoreboard had been wrong for 7 innings and the 8th inning simply fixed the error. Somewhere tonight, 3 legendary pitchers are thinking about what they said. About anticipation. About inevitability. About a hitter who is also a pitcher and therefore sees both sides of a conversation that most players only ever experience from one direction. They are thinking about the fact that Shohei Ohtani is currently leading the National League in home runs. They are thinking about October. And quietly, with the honesty that only comes from men who no longer have anything to prove, they are thinking that they are grateful they never had to stand on a mound and throw a pitch to number 17 in the bottom of the 8th inning of a game that mattered. Because he already knew what was coming. He always does.